Most men spend their lives believing women are complicated, unpredictable, impossible to understand. But the truth is far simpler. Women aren't a mystery. They're human beings wired with instincts, psychology, and emotions that follow patterns. The men who understand those patterns unlock an entirely different reality of attraction. The problem is, most men never learn them. They chase too eagerly, they overshare, they hand out attention like candy, and then they wonder why she loses interest. But the rare man, the one who truly understands how women think and feel, doesn't play this game. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He doesn't position himself as one of the countless men orbiting around her, hoping for a scrap of validation. Instead, women orbit him. Women chase him.
Why?
Because he embodies the qualities that awaken her deepest attraction. Today, I'm going to break down those qualities, the hidden traits that women crave, even if they never admit them out loud. Once you understand these truths, you'll never again find yourself asking why isn't she interested? Instead, you'll realize why she can't stop thinking about you. 1. Women are drawn to men who don't beg for attention. This is the paradox of attraction. The harder you try to get her attention, the less of it you'll receive. When a man hovers, constantly compliments, and desperately pursues, he blends into the crowd of every other man doing the exact same thing. But the man who doesn't orbit her, the one who doesn't flood her with validation, who doesn't give away his time and energy without her earning it, he stands out. He burns into her memory because he's rare. Attention is currency, and when it's handed out too freely, it loses all value. Women are surrounded by an endless flood of likes, messages, and stares. That flood means nothing to her. But the man who measures his attention carefully, he becomes unforgettable. This is called the scarcity principle. Humans desire what they can't easily access. The Stoic man lives this naturally. His life is full. His mission is central. His energy is disciplined. So when he chooses to give a woman attention, it feels deliberate, not desperate. And that difference makes all the difference. Most men think chasing harder, more texts, more compliments, more effort, will finally prove their value. But the opposite happens. Overgiving without her earning it doesn't make you generous, it makes you replaceable. The Stoic man flips the script. He doesn't starve her of attention, but he rewards effort, loyalty, and depth. His attention becomes scarce, and because of that, it becomes addictive. 2. Women crave men who master their emotions. Real strength isn't muscles, money, or power, it's control. And nowhere is that more obvious than in relationships. Most men crumble when faced with a woman's storms. She tests him, she challenges him, she triggers his insecurities, and he reacts. He yells. He sulks. He explains endlessly. Or worse, he collapses into begging. And in that moment, he proves her deepest fear. He's not strong enough to handle me at my worst. But the man who remains calm, steady, unshaken, that man is unforgettable. He represents safety. Not fake safety, like agreeing with everything she says just to keep her happy, but real safety, the strength of knowing that when chaos hits, he won't fold. Psychologists call this emotional regulation, the ability to control your state no matter what's happening around you. Women instinctively test for this. Not maliciously, not consciously, but instinctively. She needs to know if your frame is strong enough to hold hers. And when she sees you can stay composed in the fire, her attraction spikes. It's primal. The Stoic man doesn't avoid emotion. He feels it. But he doesn't let feelings dictate his choices. That balance makes him magnetic. Because in a world full of men who break at the first sign of resistance, he is unbreakable. Here's the paradox. The less your emotions control you, the more her emotions revolve around you. 3. Women fall for men who live with purpose. This is one of the deepest truths of female psychology. Women are irresistibly drawn to men who live for something greater than them. Most men lose themselves the second they get her attention. They stop chasing their goals, they abandon their discipline, and they make her the center of their world. At first, she may feel flattered, but soon after, she feels something else, boredom. Because no woman wants to be a man's mission. She wants to be chosen by a man who already has one. Psychologists call this self-determination, the human drive to live with autonomy, to pursue a personal mission that doesn't depend on outside validation. Women feel this more intensely than most men realize. A man on his path is harder to control, harder to distract, harder to replace. That difficulty becomes irresistible. The Stoic man embodies this. His life is already full. His goals come first. His story is being written, with or without her. And she doesn't want to control that story. She wants to be invited into it. Here's the brutal truth. When you sacrifice your mission for a woman, you don't prove love, you prove weakness. And weakness is never attractive. But when you stay on your path, unwavering and disciplined, you don't have to beg for her devotion. She offers it freely. 4. Women are drawn to men who speak with authority. Words are cheap when they're scattered, nervous, or unsure. Most men talk in ways that beg for approval. Soft tones, filler words, nervous laughter. But women aren't drawn to words. They're drawn to the weight behind them. A man who speaks with authority doesn't need to shout. His tone is calm, steady, deliberate. His pauses say more than another man's rambling. He doesn't rush to fill silence, he owns it. And she feels it. The conviction behind his voice tells her he means what he says. That quiet confidence doesn't ask to be believed, it demands it. Psychologists call this paraverbal dominance. Power isn't just what you say, but how you say it. Studies show deep, calm, measured voices are universally linked to authority and competence. And authority is magnetic. The Stoic man has mastered this. He doesn't waste words. He doesn't shout to prove a point. He doesn't fumble for approval. Even when challenged, his tone stays steady. And that's why his words carry 10 times more weight. 5. Women respect men who can walk away. One of the deepest triggers of attraction isn't how much you can give, it's how much you can withhold. Most men live terrified of loss. They bend, compromise, and betray themselves just to keep her. But if you can't walk away, you have no power. And if you have no power, she can't fully desire you. This is scarcity leverage. When something can't be controlled, it gains value. A man who stays no matter what loses his leverage. But the man who could leave at any moment, yet chooses to stay, that man is priceless. The Stoic man doesn't threaten to walk away. He simply lives in such a way that he could. His independence, his discipline, his mission, they mean he never clings. And if she crosses a boundary, he doesn't argue, he doesn't beg, he detaches. That detachment, instead of pushing her away, draws her closer. Walking away isn't cruelty, it's strength. It proves your love is a choice, not a dependency. And nothing attracts a woman more than knowing a man wants her, but doesn't need her. 6. Women are pulled toward men who command their space. Attraction isn't only about what you say, it's about the energy you project. Walk into a room nervous, shoulders slouched, eyes darting, and she feels nothing. Walk into a room grounded, steady, with calm presence, and she feels you before you've even spoken. This is called spatial dominance. Humans instinctively sense hierarchy through posture, movement, and body language. A man who owns his space, who walks with calm confidence, who sits with composure, who looks people in the eye without flinching, signals strength at the most primal level. The Stoic man embodies this effortlessly. He doesn't fidget. He doesn't rush. He doesn't fight for attention. Attention gravitates toward him. In conversation, he doesn't lean in desperately. He lets her lean toward him. In groups, he doesn't try to dominate the noise. His stillness speaks louder than another man's shouting. Here's the paradox. Women aren't always attracted to the loudest man in the room, but they are always drawn to the man who owns the room without trying. Because control of space is control of self, and self-mastery is the ultimate magnet. Here's the truth most men never realize. Women don't fall for the man who hands them the world. They fall for the man whose world is already complete, and who chooses to let her into it. When you master these traits, measured attention, emotional control, purpose, authority, the ability to walk away, and command of your space, you stop being the man who chases. You become the man women chase. And once you understand these truths, you'll never look at attraction the same way again.